bartender coming to you from Key Largo. I'll be a moment. I'm calling Joel, my buddy, the psychologist, and he's in another part of the country. We'll find out where. I'm going to call him right back now. Hopefully you'll pick up. I sent him a message that will be coming on. Hopefully he's not too disoriented by the technology. There we go. There he is. Hello, Joel.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How you doing?
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Good.
Okay. I'm going to turn
yeah,
up.
I hear you.
I'm going to turn up your audio a little here. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you very well.
Oh, you do hear me very well. I think I have you on kind of low. Okay. You don't have to speak up or anything. I got
turn it up a little bit.
Hmm?
You could turn your volume up a little bit if you can do that. I don't know how
you can't hear me that well?
I can hear you pretty well, but if you turn your volume up a little bit more, it might be better.
Let's see. How's that?
Yeah, that's good. How am I?
You're good. You're good. I was just the last time we spoke, Joel. How many weeks ago was that?
Oh, well, we left on February 29th.
Okay. Oh, we're on the air right now, I hope.
Cool.
Okay, good. Oh, yeah, and you can say whatever you want. February 29th. And since then, there have been a lot of changes. Or
no shit.
The world has changed.
Worldwide, yeah.
I mean, it was a little over, 3.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we shook hands and gave Gabby a kiss, and there was nothing weird about that. Nowadays, you wouldn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's it's an elbow bump,
Yeah. Where are you right now? Just give me a
so
region.
we're at my daughter. Yeah, we're at my daughter's, which it's got a beautiful place. It's out beyond Washington D.C., west of Washington D.C., about on Route 66. Mm-hmm. About halfway to Shenandoah River and Park.
Okay. So where, when you left Key Largo, where did you go?
So we went to Baltimore.
Oh, Towson?
The hour.
Yeah. Okay.
Baltimore, Maryland.
I told you my family lives in Towson also.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to live on Charles View Way.
Right.
Right.
So there you go. Oh. Yeah. So we were there about a week, and see our children, all of that. Everything was fine.
Everything was fine then.
Yeah.
So then, then you moved to west of
New York City. Went up to New York City to see Gabby's mother. Gabby's mother is like 98. Mm-hmm. She's in an assisted living place up in Westchester. So she went to stay with her mother, and I went to Chinatown. I looked all over the place, and from what I can tell, the only places that weren't getting hit by coronavirus was Chinatown.
Okay.
So I went to one of the Chinatowns in Brooklyn.
Yes.
One in Brooklyn, and I was there for 4 or 5 days, enjoying dumplings and noodles, more dumplings, more noodles.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Everything was good. But right during that time, like a week, that would be like a week ago Thursday, let's say, we started getting messages from Spain. We live in Spain, right?
Mm-hmm.
We started getting messages that said, "Don't come back,"
Mm-hmm.
because it was really starting to heat up there, as it was here, And just in the nick of time, I got an invitation slot slash, I should say, invitations slash, kind of you must come down and stay with us from my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we be.
And that was a week. I guess they put your mother-in-law in a lockdown. You can't really see her. You can't get in to see her at her facility anymore, right?
Right. Gabby stayed with her before the lockdown. They were just getting ready for the lockdown. So everything really broke between, a week ago Thursday and that weekend. We were scheduled to fly back on Sunday.
Yeah,
and we were like,
it was moving really quickly here also in Florida.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't mention to our listeners, since we are live, that you had a career as a psychologist, especially your groundbreaking work in psychoacoustics, right?
Yeah,
And,
I guess.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about how quickly, and I tried talking to some other people, it just seemed how quickly things have changed, the mindset of people have changed, that we're able to adapt. It happened so fast. I could equate it to 9/11, where 9/11 was more like a big event, one event that shocked people. But with this, we see the numbers and the spread, and we get all the information slowly coming out on what's going on and how it's creeping along. So this past Thursday, a week ago, you started getting, and then a couple days later, Florida just started following suit.
Yeah.
It was, we're in the middle of our spring break here, and we had the big thing last week for Florida was convincing college age, and not only college age, there were plenty of people down here on vacation.
Yeah.
That they needed to change their habits. It's not party. This was a real thing. And they needed either, right here, there was a big kind of it's our reaction, psychologically, there were some bad things happening I thought, in the Keys, where people got really nativist.
Oh, really?
Yes. But I'll talk about that later. I wanted to say, but the progression of it happened so quickly here, where from within 72 hours, or it was 4 days. Where I worked, They started thinking about things. Went from one day, we got to watch what we're doing. This is what we're going to do, and then all of a sudden things moved around. It was on. It was a matter of Tuesday, we were still open, everything's fine, and then everyone's still coming in, and then Wednesday they started saying that they want to close bars and clubs, and restaurants had to stay at 50% to maintain distance, and that didn't last more than 48 hours, but they said all dining in is over, you could do takeout and delivery, and they closed all the restaurants down, and then there's a bunch of restaurants just decided to close down, and that happened. And that was economically, and people, that part, but the psychological thing where people had to start accepting that this is what they had to do, and you have college students that have to say, have you seen the news of the guys down in Florida? One guy says Corona. I don't care if I get Corona. I'm here to party.
Youngins.
Well, what'd they say? Was your brain fully developed when you're 25? Is it still?
Yeah, that keeps going up. That figure keeps going up. Yeah. What did they say now? I think what they're saying now, aside from brain development and all of that, because there are other factors, but they're saying you really don't reach adulthood until about age 40.
Okay. And some of us even later never reach adulthood, right?
Well, it's not. I've tried it a few times, Jim, and it's not all it's cracked up to be, I have to say.
So when you were up in New York, so you're experiencing all this, you got you're seeing New York City. Is it still inundated with people when you were there?
No, there were, it had gone, first of all, there was the prejudice against Chinese people in Chinatowns. Mm-hmm. And, of course, one of the wonderful things about New York Chinatowns is that they have these huge dim sum parlors, the dumplings, almost like tapas, Spanish tapas, small plates of dumplings and goodies, wonderful stuff, and giant places like you think you're stepping into a wedding banquet or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I went to the one in the Chinatown in Brooklyn at Sunset Park, and first of all, the streets were deserted, and second of all, three or four of the main dim sum parlors were closed down because nobody was coming.
Oh, you're just on the phone? There's no visual? Hi, Jim. It's Gabby.
Hi, Gabby. Well, the visual part really doesn't really help with the podcast part. If I was doing FaceTime, I could probably do a FaceTime and then transfer over the sound to the podcast. But, yeah. Oh, are you on Skype or the phone? You're on Skype.
No,
right?
I just stopped in. I just want to say hi and stay safe. And
thank
hopefully
you.
We'll all be together in Key Largo next winter.
Well, I think we will. I'm sure I'll give Joel an update on what happened here.
Please do.
Yeah.
So whatever they were doing to the Asian Americans up your way and blaming them.
You're blaming who? You're blaming.
They were blaming. They were blaming tourists. It's interesting.
I heard they're going to fly.
They were I know, but at one point, I think it was last Thursday, before they shut down, Thursday mornings, there was protesters that would actually get into the southbound lane of Route 1, and they were standing in the highway with signs telling people, welcome to the Keys, now go home. So
a lot of xenophobia now.
Yes.
Being bred.
I understand the development of it and where it comes from, but for a place that is a tourist destination, it's certainly not the message you want people to come back, to remember.
Right.
I think the people that organized it, they did it out of that limbic fear that right at the base of your brain stem.
Yeah.
Visceral. Is it visceral? I guess. And they just, instead of just practicing your social distancing and things like that, it doesn't matter who's here, right? As long as you wash your hands, self-quarantine, do all those things for a couple weeks, you'll be fine. But standing on the middle of the highway where someone can run you, I mean, oh yeah, you may not get the coronavirus, but a pickup truck doing 45, 50 miles an hour certainly would change the prognosis for your health curve real quickly. So it would really shallow out the curve. What they call that? What?
Flatten the curve.
You flatten the curve, yeah.
It would flatten the curve. Yeah, that curve would be totally flat. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think that's what they need.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have so what do you have? Take out gin and tonics from the couch?
What about it?
Huh?
What about the gin and tonic?
Is that what you're doing?
Me? I don't drink anymore.
No, takeout from the couch.
Oh, that takeout?
No, but I mean,
the takeout. They were allowing.
Taking out gin and tonic.
Did you hear that? That the governor, a bunch of states, they decided with takeout, in order to try to help the restaurants a little more, they said you are allowed to take drinks as takeout too. So relax the open container laws in all the states. So for a brief couple of hours, I mean, there's still places doing it. If someone wants a drink. But if you're going to a restaurant to buy it to go drink it, then take it home and drink it, maybe you don't have a drinking problem, because you could very easily, all you would have to do, Joel, is just buy a bottle of liquor and make it home.
I know our liquor stores essential.
Uh-huh.
They designated essential, and you're keeping them open, or how does that work?
Well, I think they declared it essential because they're afraid that of looting.
Yeah,
it would be
riots.
Well, I don't know if it necessarily be. It would be some people that are really. I imagine if I was actively drinking, I would be very upset if they
shut that down.
If they shut that down.
Yeah.
And now, since I made the conscious decision, I can't drink. That it's not a problem. But I do realize for other people it would be a problem. I'm not one of those people that believe in prohibition because of my my proclivity for not drinking now. But I can actually see.
No, that's when people start rioting. People start rioting when they don't have food and drink, right?
So when you were, well, you'd be surprised how quickly that changed here. The progression changed. When the progression changed, we're talking about the restaurant. They're saying they're going from this, they're going to takeout, offering takeout and delivery, and then deciding within the time when the governor can't shut down all inside dining, within an hour, half the restaurants decided just to close down because they saw that they would never be able to replace the income from dining in. They saw that once people are out of work, they're not going to be buying as much food. And why, if you're home all day, why would you need to order takeout? Because it's not like you're working. You can't prepare your food. I've been cooking for my family the last 4 days. We made homemade key lime pie. We made Amish cinnamon bread, and I made 3 big dinners. So there's no reason. I have all the time in the world to cook right now, so I'm not ordering out. So, and plus, you're out of work. Why would you order out and spend that extra cash when you're not? So I think people saw the writing on the wall. No tourists, only locals. How many restaurants are going to stay open with just doing to-go orders? I suggest it'll probably be 1/5 of them. The pizza places are ready for it, and the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, there'll be like 3 restaurants that'll in this town that'll eventually stay open if it goes any more than another week. But I know, I think I told people what it's like down here. And then when they shut down the stretch. Do you know that? To all non-residents. They can't come down unless you have a residency sticker or a driver's license with address in Key Largo, or legitimate business in Key.
Yeah.
I mean, a legitimate business in the Keys. And there were people in the business and getting back to the psychology of it, there's people that I knew they thought, they get involved with the numbers, right? The numbers of people sick right now. That there's only what 18,000 people dead worldwide, and in H1N1 there was 600,000 or whatever, and they said this, but you try to explain them, you don't attack a forest fire when it's consumed the whole forest, right? You got to hit it at source at the beginning, right? You got to contain it.
As I understand it, I think some people have been saying, we know who, you shall remain unnamed, have been saying, well, it's not as deadly as automobile accidents or the flu.
Mm-hmm.
But, and that's true so far. But if you let it get out of hand, if you don't take precautions, as medical science is suggesting, then it could go up very, very quickly into many, many deaths, especially because we're unprepared for it. We don't have the medical supplies. We don't have the ventilators. We don't have the gowns. We don't have the masks and that sort of thing. So this would be the time to be precautionary and not wait to see how it plays out, but take a proactive.
Preventative instead of reactionary, right?
Yeah. I mean, reactionary, we've lost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my opinion. It's not particularly psychological. That's just from what I see and what I read.
I wanted to ask you that opinion about the transition psychologically from people that are angry and they say, listen, this is disrupting, it's hurting me economically, it's disrupting my life, and then, but you got, in part of the way that, we saw that there was a certain guy, he wanted to still have his rallies. He had to be convinced not to have any rallies. We have to convince people not to go, come down for spring break because it's selfish denial of your immediate gain when you don't see the threat. If you don't see the threat, and then the other people that see the threat are very angry at the people that don't value or don't see the danger ahead of them, and you're saying you're going to be putting
I tell you,
what?
Yeah, I sympathize. I sympathize with the people who are being hard hit economically, financially. It's a terrible thing. Let's just take the restaurant business, for example. Mm-hmm. They operate on a pretty thin margin. Mm-hmm. They work their asses off, and they have their rents to pay, right? All of this. And so that really hits them. Now, you compare that to me, retired old guy, who's got an angelic daughter who's giving me shelter here. Well, not too bad.
What's your daughter's name? I never asked. What's your daughter's name?
Megan.
Megan? Okay.
Yeah. And her husband, Trent. They're just gems. So, lucky me. But there are a lot of people who are not so lucky, and looking at the numbers, it seems like even with the the bailout that's being proposed now, the $2 trillion bailout that's being proposed now, a lot of that isn't going toward the neediest. It's going toward keeping the economy alive, and so I don't feel I'm knowledgeable enough to kind of make that call. Because what it's coming down to is, do you save the economy or do you save people's lives? Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you don't, the way I view it, Joel, if you don't chime in with your opinion, there are other people out there that are perfectly willing to make their opinions heard, and they have the political clout in order to determine an outcome that is best for them. Now, people always say like this, and there's people out there to say, well, I don't know enough about this, so I can't well, if someone decides because the economy is going so bad that he's going to open it up again, but to the detriment, if it reduces social distancing, and reports have come out of Hong Kong, right, that there was a drastic reduction in new infections in Hong Kong. And then recently they started allowing more economic activity to resume. Well, the infections came back. Now, I'm not saying it came back to the same level, but they started rising again.
Also, what was going on was they let tourism come back in.
Yeah.
So, and China has switched over now, and now they're not letting people come into China to reinfect. So it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Well,
but
I mean, in common sense, if you told me it's 2 weeks...
What you were saying.
What?
Huh?
If you tell me it's...
as far as what you were just...
Yeah?
Yeah, what you were just saying. I don't, professionally, I give you my personal opinion, and that is, perhaps it's a professional opinion, too, it's the path I chose, and that is to help people. So my focus is on people rather than the economy, per se.
Yeah.
And it also isn't clear to me why you can't do both. Somebody has to be in a position that they can look at both of those things as co-equals and say what has to be done here and what has to be done here.
Well, when it comes to, let's say, if you want to talk on Main Street USA, if people that take a personal hit of, let's say, the service economy, restaurants and bars, well, what would you, if you're taking a hit, what would you have the government do? Leave it open?
It's very difficult.
No, but leave it open and cause further infection, and then in the long run, you devastate your economy forever, or take a hit for a month, and take a hit for a month,
right? Exactly.
Reduce the amount of the spread, and I mean, there's things you have to do. It's just as if it was your body. I mean, think of it. Think of your state, your city, your country as a human body, and what happens when someone's sick or could be sick is you get rest, you feed them right, you feed them medicine, you keep them separated from, when they're sick, you keep them separate from other people. So, I mean, whether they're contagious or not, you don't want them to. If they're contagious, you don't want to infect anybody else. And if they're weak, you don't want anybody to infect them. So
you basically don't want to
go.
Yeah, why go against doctor's orders?
Well, yeah, but
Right.
I mean, originally, even hundreds of years ago, they realized that how they quelled other epidemics was under quarantine, was through isolation,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
and it worked best.
Yeah.
That worked best. And I did mention a town in the previous. There was a town in Colorado during the Spanish flu that put up a blockade from people coming in, and would quarantine people coming into town for a certain amount of time to see if they would become ill. And during the whole outbreak, they saw two cases, and that was incredible at that time. And they had Navy ships. They realized that people being outdoors, obviously, they put people on lockdown because they're afraid, quarantine them to their house, because they get out and they go to other houses. Now, going outside and running and things like that, though may not spread the infection, it's actually better for it, maybe, because it gets you exercise, keeps you healthy, keep you from, even if you do have it, you may be able to combat the effects better. But historically, people aren't really good at handling.
That just makes sense.
Yeah, people aren't really good at handling big changes in their life, but and
they are.
This is akin. People are saying this. They keep on equating it to 9/11. I would more likely acquaint it with World War II, which people had to make sacrifices. They had to, there were restrictions. There was, there's all things they had to do to contribute and things like that. But 9/11 was a singular event where a lot of people didn't have to do anything differently, other than the biggest changes they saw in their life was a little more security at airports and having to take off their shoes. I don't mean to make light of it.
Let me jump in a moment.
What?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, every individual has certain predilections, and that's going to determine which way they go on any particular issue. But you're going to have some people here who see economics as more important than saving lives. And you're going to have other people seeing saving lives being more important than economics. I thought what you said before was excellent. Bill.
Are you there?
Are we on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
here.
I hit something.
Okay. Yeah. You hear me?
Yep.
We good?
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, I think this idea of being cautious, like in the short run, just to get this stuff to level out before you force, if I can use that word, people to go back to work in an unsafe situation. It's almost like, if I allow my most paranoid part of me to take over, it's sort of like, okay, let's get the slaves back in the field. We're going to be up at the house. We'll isolate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is, how much of a drop in population is worth maintaining the economy? And other people are saying, well, the only reason this is being done is because there's politics involved. There's an election coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, if it would be hard to explain that this is where it takes real leadership. It would be hard for someone to go and take the reins when things just started happening and look at Italy and say, hey, we got to do this drastic measures right now, but if we do it now, it will definitely reduce what happens later. And then have to explain, if we didn't do it, this is what would happen. And I think they could have done it because all they'd have to do was point at Italy.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, listen, this is a country almost 1/6 the size of ours. So currently they have, I'm just going to pick a number, 7,000, 6,000 dead. And
all right.
That would be 42,000 people. How much is that worth? How much is the life worth? And that's just the beginning. I mean, we're so vast. I don't know how that's going to work out, but for people to change, they have a hard time seeing prevention. They can only see it after something happens. Like we got into World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. It wasn't after the Nazis almost took over all of Europe, where they did practically take care of all of Europe. We didn't see a threat. And they almost conquered the British Isles. We did not see a threat. And it's only when the Japanese attacked one of our bases in the Pacific that we saw a threat, and then we mobilized the whole country.
Well, that's when we went over. We were helping the Brits a lot, but we didn't declare war before the Pacific.
Yeah, but we didn't really swing into production until after that, where they even took over the war board and all that stuff, where they started producing all the tanks and the planes and the ships and things like that. To get on the lighter note now, we're going to still talk about this. We're still talking about this, but I heard someone mention that during this pandemic, and I'm calling Pandemonium, the episode name is Pandemonium with Pandemic. You like that?
Yeah.
Well,
I dig it.
Someone suggested that people that are, let's say, the chronic experiencers of anxiety, right? Imagined anxiety.
Yeah.
Imagined anxiety are better equipped to handle real crisis.
Interesting.
Now, under certain circumstances, I'm not saying all of them, but when there's imagined stress, people that manufacture stress in their life and manufacture anxiety and things like that, when there's something really to go, they're just cruising at their regular operating. You know what I mean? And everyone is experiencing what they're experiencing, and they finally feel normal. You know?
Maybe.
I mean,
I'm not sure.
I feel
that.
completely normal. I go to the store, I go on the thing. I have a clear thing of what I have to do. I mean, I'll either get sick or not get sick, right? I'll wash my hands. I got to go to the store. I reduce the amount of times I touch my face. No one, you say I don't touch my face, that'll be a lie.
Well, everybody touches their face.
Yeah. Well, even the lady that was giving one of the health officials of one of the state health officials,
I know.
She's doing it, and she's licking her fingers.
It's a human proclivity, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But, I think the thing is, well, humans are great. If you kind of focus on that, one of the measures of good psychological health, for instance, is adaptability. You know, how well equipped is any individual to handle whatever comes at them? You know, I think that's a good measure of mental health. And most people.
Wait a second.
In most situations.
Wait. But that could also be a psychotic person too, right?
I'm not. No. What I'm trying to say is that many people are very, very good at rising to the occasion. and have that kind of adaptability to handle a real twist, if you will, in reality, that other people who are not as stable, let's say, might buckle under, right?
So,
but hey Jim, I wanted to mention something.
Okay.
This is the most serious podcast we've ever had.
Well, I decide it still could be. Hey, listen, we still could do that stuff. There was humor in the most dire consequences. I'm not laughing at this. Don't just because I can make light of something or get serious about something doesn't mean I'm any more or less humorous than I was before. You know?
No, I'm just saying, objectively.
Oh yeah.
This is.
Well, I figured,
one of our most
Joel,
serious.
I had this resource. You're a resource. You studied this psychology. You were a psychologist for your whole career.
Yeah.
I figure it would be ridiculous for me not to. There's going to be a time where we could talk about the interesting things that happen. There was. I noticed the way people, because of the international quality of the crisis, that everybody's feeling it almost at the same level.
Yeah.
Right? So, Abby, I learned some things about Poland right now. Abby showed me a video someone sent to her, and it was a funny video. It was a guy says, I went to the store, and this is all in Polish, and Abby's interpreting for me. He says, I went to the store, and you can't see the guy, but he's in his house, and he's explaining things, and he's just talking from his eyesight perspective. And he's pointing, he says, I was at the store, and I had, I wanted to get some toilet paper, coffee, whiskey, and some pasta and stuff like that. And there were people coming out, there's nothing there, and the guy behind the counter was very rude. And the guy says, well, maybe you didn't ask the right way. So he walks over to his table and he says, now look what happened here. I was nice to the guy, right? And there's a whole table full of stuff on the table. And he starts pointing at it. But what he's pointing at is with a handgun. And all you see is the handgun. And they asked very nicely if I could have these things. And the guy was so nice to me. And you just see the gun. The gun's pointing at the things. There's the coffee, there's the whiskey, there's the wine, and all that stuff. And the guy was so helpful. He asked if I needed anything else and things like that. And and I said, wow, that was kind of low key. He didn't go into it was a very long setup for a subtle joke. And
thank you, dog.
Yeah. But
one of my favorites.
It's there. If we just talk, wouldn't it be kind of crass if I did a live show and just ignored whatever was going on?
No, and I'm not saying that. But one of my favorite quotes, because you need to modulate your reality, okay? And this is some serious shit, no question. But one of my favorite quotes is from Niels Bohr, who is one of the fathers of quantum physics, and that stuff's pretty hard to deal with cognitively, thought-wise, to grope, But one of his students, one of his grad students, came in and complained that there was too much horseplay going on in the lab. Niels Bohr said, but don't you realize the work being done here is much too serious, is much too important to be taken seriously? But this is where we're at, We need a certain amount of reality relief right now. It doesn't mean we have to ignore what's going down. It doesn't mean you don't have to look both ways. before crossing the street.
That brings me up.
Reality is
that's what I wanted to wrap up with.
There and it needs to be attended to.
Okay. What would you
But it
tell?
doesn't mean that we
would
can have some fun with it and be able to laugh.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're doomed.
Yeah, I wrote down here, Joel, said, what would you tell people who are afraid and anxious to help them to not be so afraid and anxious, just besides just saying have some fun with it, because obviously when someone...
I found it very useful to use comedy in my...
Joel, is that a dry cough?
It's a dry cough. It's a scratchy throat. Not running a temperature. I'm cool, man. May have to do with the medication I'm taking for something else. Okay. But I'm cool. But anyway...
medical marijuana, right?
I had a patient come in. We can get some of that.
Oh, yeah.
You want to just mail it? After we're finished, I'll give you my postal address.
I can't do that.
Okay, good. Thanks, man. So a patient comes in, and she sits down and she cries for 15 minutes. She's crying, and she has a lot to cry about, And at the end of the 15 minutes, and we're about to stop, and I looked at her and I said, "Joy." Well, I gave it away, but I said, "Are you sure you're allowed to cry this much if your name is Joy?" You see, and that cracked her up. Now, one of the things, so she walked out, a happy camper. But the other thing was that I knew my route in to help her deal with what was going on. And I could use my humor, and she could enjoy that. So we had established a pretty quick bond in one session. So, yeah, I encourage humor, and at the same time, why can't we sort of multi-process, do what reality calls for, and also at the same time, be able to enjoy our humor.
Okay. On the way, a couple days ago, 3 days ago, my Abby and Sky, we decided we wanted to, since we had all this time off, I went and bought myself a bike. We went to, the place at the U-Haul Center, the guy that sells the used bikes?
I think so. I think I know what you're talking about.
Jack's, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy. Well, you know what? Since we're I'm not doing any commercials for anybody right now. There's Jack. If anybody, if you're in Key Largo and you really want to enjoy the beautiful weather we're having, even though, yes, we are quarantined, doesn't mean you can't go out biking, right? Enjoy nature. There's a levity in it. We went there and I bought a bike and stuff like that, and we're that's one of the things that we do with it. But I noticed when I was riding that you could actually hear all the birds. That normally in this time of year, the highway's so busy that you don't hear anything. You just hear trucks and cars and things like that coming down here. It's virtually, it's not exactly a ghost town, but it's more like a very slow off season, September. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And you can, there's all the state parks are closed. All the beaches are closed,
right.
But there's some of the ones are open to the locals are still open.
Yeah.
So, but that humor thing, I haven't quite figured it all out on how to do that. But what the take on the thing of why do you think was the meaning of the hoarding of the toilet paper? Why did that happen?
Anal. People are anal.
Really?
That's my Freudian interpretation.
I mean, we had,
Yeah.
You know what?
People have very short.
At the Haran household, we weren't immune because every time I went out, my Abby keeps on saying, check on paper towels and toilet paper. And I realized, I said, well, we got enough right now. And they since there's a shortage of it, they're still grabbing it like crazy.
Listen, I think it's like a security blanket. It's very important in modern culture, you know?
And, well...
On the other hand, if push came to shove, Jim, we just adapt the old Arab take on this stuff.
You're shaking with your left hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wipe with the left and right. No?
Yep. Oh, well,
that sounds like it could work.
What? Yeah. I don't understand that whole thing. You know, you eventually have to wash your hands anyway, so. I mean.
Yeah. Wash your hands many times.
Yeah.
You know, until it really gets desperate. Then you wipe with your left and you eat with your right.
So, Joel, what are your plans now? Because of Spain's the next hotbed right now. What were you normally going? When do you normally go back to Spain?
2 weeks ago.
Oh. So.
Yeah, we're laying low. Hey, Jim, I finally got that beater guitar I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was going to be, locked in or whatever this is called, lockdown.
Yeah.
Lock up. So yeah, I ordered it off of Amazon. So
hey, Joel, I wanted you to know I googled your name, right? I didn't put it in the thing.
Oh no.
I googled it myself. I googled your name, and I was looking for a picture of you. And
it's all lies,
Jim.
It's all lies, Jim.
No, it's no professional pictures of you.
Huh?
There's pictures of you only playing music.
It's what?
There's a video of you playing music and hanging out with your musician friends, friends, but there's no professional pictures of you out there. There's a video of you playing.
Those professional pictures go back 30 or 40 years, really.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the latest over the last decade or so. That's how Google works,
Mm-hmm. Well, no, but the musician ones are from the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, was I not looking serious enough?
No, they weren't just. They were just. Yeah, you were serious. You looked very intent. You were intently doing something on a guitar. Well, do you have any psychoacoustical? I know I keep on asking that, and you did representations of people's biofeeds, right? Or brain waves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we fed people's brainwaves into music synthesizers, and then fed it back to them, created a feedback loop.
Okay. So for a feedback, so if you could get one, if you did a study where you said at this certain time, let's say between 1:30 and 2:15, there was someone trying to achieve meditation. They let's say they achieved their optimum level meditative state, right? Could you feed?
Yeah, we could.
No, you know what I was saying. I was going to say, could you give that back to someone when they're not in their optimum state? Play that representation and have them. Is there correlation of people getting affected by their own musical representation of their higher states.
Exactly. Yeah. You got the idea. What we would do is we'd run it in real time, and we'd program that feedback loop so that we could establish a resonance, if you will, between the synthesizer and their brains. And when you do that, then you can drive people into various states of consciousness.
What if
that makes any sense?
What if someone did? I guess there were other times where people use the charges, embedded charges, to activate the areas that are activated while they're in a higher meditative state. To directly activate those with a low intensity charge or something like that.
Kind of. I didn't get much into that. I used to do that in my practice. I could teach people to meditate, without a feedback loop to their brain. But this was much better because regular biofeedback just is a learning process. And it takes a number of sessions. But if you establish a physical feedback loop, if you will, then you could drive people into various different states of consciousness.
Okay.
And particularly ones that would be therapeutic.
Wow. Okay. And do you have any of your mind control music that... so each one is... I called it mind control music. I apologize. But is it unique? Is it unique to each person, or there are similar representations across the board for people to get that if someone achieves a higher state, and let's say they describe it in a similar way, would that be a similar representation?
Yes. One of the things we were able to do was take a reading on people's typical brain state. And we could, with that reading, we could understand what kinds of feedback would help them the most to achieve a state of relaxation or a state of mild state of bliss, perhaps. And we could dial that in our programming. So it was a real interaction between the subject wearing the electrodes and what we could help them achieve.
Well, when you said mild state of bliss, do you think that is more beneficial than people going, or do you worry about the manic, someone being manic, getting high level state of bliss, or is it just because people are more frequently in mild states of bliss rather than elevated states of bliss?
Yeah, I wouldn't consider manic a state of bliss. I think people who are typically manic have a number of issues they have to deal with. It's when people typically report when they're in a manic state, it's a lot of fun. I don't know if it's bliss or not. And their behavior is not cool. Let me just say that. But when I say a mild state of bliss, I mean that's an internal state. That's a deep meditative state. When you look at their EEG that I'm feeding to the synth and then feeding back to them, which helps to promote that kind of state of bliss. So, I think that's very different than manic.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. And
yes.
So you suggest, I did hear earlier that you said that similar people that are in similar higher levels of meditative states. They have a similar quality to their brain waves. Similar. Now, conversely, when people aren't, now I imagine you covered people that are disquieted, and you did some representations of them. Are they as different as the higher meditative states? Similar? Are they so much more different than each other, or are they similar, the disruptive states?
It's a real good question, Jim. What we didn't have the chance to do was get to the point of taking various diagnostic groups and see how we could help them. Basically, we were dealing with, let's say, a range of quote normal people who didn't have particular problems. And so it was a matter of not people who were, I don't know what you would call, like in a diagnostic category that you could say, okay, let's place them in this group. But there's a range of mostly students, really, because that's what all psychological studies are based on. And you bring them in, and you do your best to help them achieve a relaxed state, or the next step, a mild state of bliss, something like that. And what we were doing is very primitive compared to what's being done now, but it was a fun project. We enjoyed doing it, and we broke some new ground.
Okay. Well, and one question I want to ask, if so, it was sparked by the question that you were people in the normal range, but was there ever a time that you saw a representation of someone's readout and you thought, oh my gosh, this person may need some help?
I never diagnosed anybody that way, like what we were seeing on our instruments when we were doing brainwaves into music. I think that was beyond the scope of what we were doing, perhaps beyond the scope of what I was willing to take on. I think it was more like these really were what you might call, whatever they're hard to define, but normal people. They weren't the extremes. They were people who were in school. They were people who were, let's say, out of school, but they were curious. They were, they were hanging right around the median.
They were psychoacoustical curious, did you say?
Well, a lot of them were musicians. I was working in a conservatory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I imagine, though, I mean, I guess I like, as the study, are they still continuing to do these studies? Are they?
Say again?
Are they still doing further research into psychoacoustical studies?
Oh, they've gotten way past what we were. Yeah, they got way past what we were doing. I was just interested in making music and using it therapeutically. But right now, you've gotten to the point where they can use brainwaves to manipulate prosthetic arms and that sort of thing, which is, very useful breakthrough. Wow. Something I wasn't all that interested in at the time.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. Well, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
You're going to be in your daughter's house for a for the foreseeable future until this thing kind of passes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you be, since we covered all this ground, we could get into the more humorous thing later on, like on another
I hope so.
broadcast.
That
Well,
would be
I
nice
thought
to
it was
do.
important
Yeah.
to discuss that. And this you can hear. Here, I'll play a little laugh for you to make it a little more levity. Here, hold on. You'll remember this guy. You hear this guy? Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, it was okay. Well, this guy laughing. Maybe it showed up on my end. You know what? It wouldn't show up on yours, would it? And there's Tina, the one that calls me.
Asshole!
Yeah, there we go. You remember that woman that calls me an asshole? You don't remember that? I just played that. That was about me. I just didn't want you to. I played it. It had nothing to do with Joel. Joel, I want to thank you. And my father, I got something for you. My father sent me a meme. He goes, I was told that all you needed to go to the store was a face mask and gloves. But when I got there, I noticed people were wearing shirts and pants.
Mm-hmm.
You get that?
I see.
You know that's just as corny as some of the shit you say, Joe. The guy was naked.
That's an example of humor. Huh? All right, man.
Joe,
anytime, just give me a call, man. Always enjoy.
Yeah.
Chatting with you.
I want one other question. What was when you went to the liquor store? How many bottles of Pinot Grigio did you get?
I don't know. I gave my daughter my credit card, and she went online and ordered a bunch of stuff. So we'll see what shows up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
But if you want, you can.
What?
Jim, if you want, you can PDF me a gin and tonic, okay?
What can I wait? How send it? I'd have to send you the constituent ingredients. PDF.
You have your.
I know what a PDF is now.
Yeah, you have PDF. My gin and tonic. No.
Yeah. That people.
You have a 3D printer at the molecular level.
You would not. You would need the 3D printer. All I would need was a 3D scanner. Okay. I can. Okay. I guess I know who's the bigger Star Trek geek is right here is me. You need to get the 3D printer over there.
What'd you say? What are you saying? I'm going to come back in my next life as a 3D printer.
You're gonna come back as a dot matrix.
Some kind of hey, that could
dot matrix.
That could be some sort of strange karma. You come back more enlightened, or you come back as a cockroach. Usually,
I didn't say that.
3D printer. Well, that's good. That's good and strange. I like that.
I didn't say cockroach. I said a dot matrix printer.
No, I'm saying.
Okay. Well, good luck. Good luck. Are you playing? Are you guys doing any game night with the family or anything like that?
I don't know. They work very hard, the family. So, and we just passed our first weekend. So, let's see how it develops. I think we're going to do a jam session.
Oh, good. Oh, really?
And my daughter is
You're
a good
you're
dancer.
gonna do a
And I
jam
made-
session. Are you kidding me? They're not doing a jam session. Your daughter
What?
plays an instrument? Does
No,
Megan?
she's a good dancer. She's a wonderful dancer.
Does Trent?
You know,
Does Trent play
and
an instrument?
Gabby's a trained trained musician, and Trent, my daughter's husband,
Yeah.
you know, he can just chopsticks on pots. You know.
I used to play the recorder and the glockenspiel. How about the glockenspiel?
And the
And
what?
I have we made a one string instrument with a board, a hook, and a soup can, and with a wire strung in.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I would like, hold on one moment. I'll play you I have it right over here. I'll play you some of my experimental music. Stay right there. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
coming.
I'm here.
Here. Okay, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go, Joel.
Yeah.
Okay, listen to this.
Okay.
Listen to these smooth sounds.
Okay.
Sounded kind of like early Ming Dynasty, didn't it?
I think so. You be rocking, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the next thing we do, let's do a jam session. You know,
You want
I have my beater guitar. You have that.
Yeah, I have
You know,
this.
we could rock.
Okay.
You know?
And well, then we're going to have to do a
Yeah.
live feed because your daughter's going to dance then, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, but we'd have to do like what? You know, like video something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Would
I think that's separate. Let's
I'm
do
an
what I
expert
do.
in the medieval madrigals.
Are you?
Yeah.
That was my guess. Yeah, that was my guess. No surprise.
Okay, you
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
so? Okay. Well, Joel, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank your family for sparing
Thank you.
here. Can we do this next week? Or maybe later
Yeah,
on,
sure.
if you have anything to say, we'll talk about, and then the next topic would be how we'll be talking about humor in a time of crisis, and we do a little
Exactly.
research about.
Perfect, man.
I'll do some research
Yeah.
in World War I and World War II and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay. We'll get as let's get as wild as possible.
I will.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can bring
Yeah.
your guitar. Bring your guitar and play. Okay?
And
And bring your
What's that?
guitar. You hear me? Are you still there?
maybe.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Sometimes I wonder, Joel,
Corral.
did you start?
Corral.
You sure that
Okay,
shipment?
yeah,
You sure that
that's
grocery shipment didn't
that's
get here
right,
already?
isn't
You
it?
started hitting that. When did your happy hour
Yeah.
start?
I mean, this is 7 a.m.
Okay, Joel.
Problem?
No, not at all.
You have a problem with that?
No, not at all. No judgment. No, the Irish guy has no problem with you starting at 7 a.m.
I'm retired, man.
I know. We're doing role reversals right now.
I've thrown off all constraints. Yeah. All right, Jim. Great spending time with you as always.
Okay. I'm going to hit
Thanks
the
for
music now,
inviting me,
Joel.
man.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. I'd like to thank Joel for coming on the show, and I'd like you for listening. Oh, my God. This music got so loud. Take care. We'll be back probably tomorrow with someone else if we're lucky. Goodbye.